buildings affected. Then, when the superheated water began to cauterize with the constituent materials and minerals of the earth, it began to shoot a superheated plasma flame to lengths of 12 to 45 feet along, long out of the fissure. 25 feet long out of the fissure. Buildings were destroyed completely, where they sank into the earth up to 3 to 4 stories deep, some roof deep. Tremendous, massive amounts of earth material had to be brought to fill in the holes created by the plasma. And then when they said what they did with the Google Earth was that they CGI'd the areas on Google Earth. So you didn't see what the devastation was. This guy here, what I call controlled opposition. To contradict this, this guy comes out and says, did we know really happen? You know, potentially dangerous due to massive energies and temperatures produced. This guy, I don't want to get into it, he's saying about the strangeness. He said it didn't happen. But he did not give any of the proof that the other people who said it happened. He did not contradict. He did not go point by point and said, no, this is what happened. No, this is what happened. That's when you begin to suspect. Again, if he is just dismissing it without telling you why, then you don't need to be even listening to what this person has to say. Just in case you run into this guy, Kev Baker. He's an Australian. Now, we're going to deal with blank slate technology. Here's where we start getting deep into how the mind is going to work, time travel, time displacement. Here we go. Intent manipulation through interactive time travel, the synthetic synchronization of consciousness. Yeah, I put spaceships in there. Kind of keeps you interested, like, whoa, look at that. We live in a hologramic chrysalis, a swirling vortex of divine intention manifesting under a layering of compressed hydrogen that encases us within an atmospheric computer incubator that of qualified hydrogen, i.e. 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 9% argon, 3% carbon dioxide, etc. Nurturing mineral, vegetable, corporeal, and incorporeal life. All right? This is where we are. The biggest problem with conventional physics is that it is based on 3, at best, 4-dimensional perception. It fails to understand the multidimensional nature of human consciousness. Traditional science and engineering are based on outdated Einsteinian physics. They cannot see beyond the large wall of theories they created for themselves, being fixated on the old perceptions of an antiquated consciousness paradigm. We are still barely scratching the surfaces of the multidimensional nature of our reality, let alone parallel realities and the concepts of bending space and time. Having said this, is time travel even feasible concept to contemplate, or just more science fiction that will never become science fact? According to the University of Connecticut physics professor Dr. Ronald L. Malat, a world-renowned expert in time travel and relativity, he says, quote, time travel is anchored in real solid physics, not science fiction. Time travel has become a reality. And we've already taken baby steps in the laboratory. Now, anybody tells you now that they're taking baby steps, they're already on a trot. I mean, they're already Usain Bolt, okay? We have developed equations for a time machine, and what I have discovered is that lasers play a significant part in time travel. He is the author of the 2006 science memoir, Time Traveler, a science's personal mission to make time travel a reality. All right, now here's where we start getting into the metaphysics. Now we're going to be tapping into, those of you who are my students, you already know this. I have taken a few of the classes at our university, and I hope you don't be mad at me, because this is usually the secret energy. This is where you go inside of the in the labyrinth, all that music they give you. Now we're going to start getting deep into metaphysics and to how the mind works when you understand and understand. To understand the operative dynamics of space-time in relation to time travel, we must understand that 1, matter ultimately dissolves into octaves and frequencies of light. That 2, light dissolves into octaves and frequencies of consciousness. And that 3, individuated consciousness dissolves into octaves and frequencies of perception as reality. Thus, matter, light, consciousness, and reality are all interdependent cosmic ecosystems. And as ecosystems, if you change one element, you affect the whole. So isolating any of the elements contained within the light-encoded reality matrix, as we mentioned, the LERM, and changing it changes reality. This is the fundamental construct of blank slate technology. What is blank slate technology? We'll talk about that. What is the light-encoded reality matrix? It is essentially an infinite field of possibilities, like fertile soil, from which physical objects are created. Those who can orchestrate the LERM through the application of their consciousness are able to manifest reality and not simply react to it. This manifestation can be instantaneous because, again, quantum objects originate in non-time and non-space. You are nothing more than an aggregate of swirling energy points. You are an individuation. You are a quantum singularity. And as such, being a component expression of the mind of, quote, God, you are God's eyes. You are God's feelings. You are God's everything. And therefore, as children of God, you can do what God does. The thing is, you do not have the proper mechanism tweaked. Somebody untweaked your ability to do that. But we won't get into that. We'll just get into this. Oh yes, that's a big part of it. Now, blank slate technology can be defined as a form of time travel that enables a user to rewrite history at what we call intervention points. Intervention points are causal energy points, causal energy points that ignite major events like the fall of Kemet, the assassination of Malcolm or Lumumba, or the Second Gullah Seminole War. Intervention points are codependent on both time and space. In other words, BST, blank slate technology, requires a precise fix on both the time and space coordinates of an event when it was in its conceptual stage or the stage that precedes physical manifestation of the event. Thus, BST has the ability to access the consciousness time stream of a species, remove an active thought from the thought process of a subject, and replace it with a passive thought. This is done by using telepathy and empathy, and on occasion the abilities of invisibility, teleportation, or interdimensional travel, but must be used solely for defensive purposes, which is what they told us it was about. Now, the Labyrinth Group, I told you about this. I spoke about the Labyrinth Group back in New York, or here in New York, back at the theater. May have mastered the ability to create ingress points into consciousness streams, intercept a thought and intention, then redirect that thought and intention through an intervention point in vertical time. The very nature of BST is to start with blank slate consciousness, then reinvent, reformulate, and recreate the consciousness of a specific form or species of conscious matter. Now, this is from my book, Cosmic Codex. I'm giving you pieces of it for you to understand what it is that this Mandela effect is based on. BST is the most advanced technology on this plane of existence, and is a gift bestowed upon humanity by something called the wing makers to avert an impending threat of species extinction. The wing makers, or one known the Animus, the Quantium, Project Ancient Arrow, were formally introduced and explained in my lecture, and I told you, we the Alpha Celestials, presented back at the first annual Black UFO Conference at the National Black Theater, just for reminders. Okay, so as we go on, according to these so-called wing makers, there are planetary minds, solar minds, galactic minds, and a singular omniversal mind, or source. The omniversal mind is the demiurgic mind of God. Each galaxy or divine intention materialized as a divine hologramic vortex singularity has a collective consciousness or mind field that is the aggregation of all of the species present within that hollow conscious reality matrix. What is being said is that we are in a vortex. We are not spinning out in space. We are stationary inside of a vortex. That vortex has created an envelope wherein is compressed the reality that we now exist in. The plane of existence that we are on is infinite. There is no drop off. You are essentially on a plane of existence that goes to infinity. As the mind of the Creator is eternal, so is the Creator's creation infinite. Understand? Eternality is masculine, infinitude is feminine. They are the bride and the groom of reality. So when you understand and understand that there is no traveling to Mars, and that which is up there is looking down at you at the same sky, that what you are looking through when you see through a periscope and you're trying to find Mars and so forth, know that the very design of your eye in a concave is meant to bend light so that you can function within the dynamics of third density, what you call third dimension. The concaving of your eyeball distorts, and you create a further distortion by thinking to magnify the distortion by creating something that has a concave lens. So what you're looking at will automatically become globules that you see as planets. You are looking at the bending of light, and you are looking at what I told you were in a compressed hydrogen envelope. How many of you knows we were in a compressed hydrogen envelope that I spoke about? Remember? Now, do you know about the story of the flood? Yep. That the heavens opened up and it rained for 49. Has anybody ever seen the Milky Way? Yep. Do you realize what that is? It's a suture of the dome. Oh, y'all didn't hear me. Y'all didn't hear me. No, I'm not going to give them pictures. They're going to go and look at themselves. That's for my students. I'm just giving you a little taste of it. What you are looking at, what the ancients call sibalba, or entering into. You're not entering any place. That is a suturing of the sky. In other words, it was repaired. I don't think they got it. The Geb, you mean new. Geb is the earth. So, understand and overstand that what you are looking at is not what you think and not what they've been telling you. Over 65 astronomers were assassinated. Why? What did they find? The universal mind projects the initial blueprints for each of these reality vortices related to each unique expression of the mind, God, or composited materialized consciousness. This blueprint of intention creates the predispositions for the genetic codes seeded into a planetary Merkaba program. The Labyrinth group believes that God designed each galaxy's genetic code with a different set of predispositions or behaviors. Now, listen to where we start getting deep. What we are not told by the synchronizers of our reality is that we exist on and within an infinite plane of interlocking vortices in matter. Here's where you're getting into the classes, into the upper realms, into the upper degrees. an infinite plane of interlocking vortices in matter, each representative of life as the polarized consciousness of light within a dimensionally isolated, all-encompassing, compressed hydrogen atmospheric dome that our materialized perception now defines as third density, what our ancient adept Kemeteu masters symbolized as the flower of life. You're looking at the flower of life as a two-dimensional object, when actually the flower of life is best described as a two-dimensional abstraction of the divine omnipresence manifesting as creative intention or the will of God through multidimensional, multi-complex representations of materialized mind, space, time, ether, fire, air, water, and earth. I'm giving you the secrets to what it is that you are. Not all of it, because it's a lot more to it, but just enough to tweak your first eyes. Look very carefully. We are on a plane. Do not look at the edges because they don't exist. I am essentially giving you an idea of the kind of makeup that they're hiding from us. What we see as the substantiality of reality is not real. It has been made real because essentially we are trapped here for a reason. We have been placed here because we breached some kind of pact. We went over the specific thresholds of reality. Now, what you're looking at right here is essentially how it looks. Now, what you're looking at, family, is the interlocking, interspaced, the way that different reality vortices interact with one another. Each one is a consciousness time zone. A consciousness time zone that is based upon certain ways that your brain works. Your brain works for this part in the right brain, the left brain, there's a back part here, there's the pons, there's the different parts for the temporal lobes, frontal lobes. Well, just know that every cycle of reality is based upon a consciousness paradigm. And you are interlocked with that conscious paradigm. And what they're trying to do is breach their own reality. And you will see that the person who is dealing with consciousness and creating the computers that deal with time displacement wants to go into other dimensions. And since we're not going to be able to see the video, I'm going to tell you what he said. He said we want to go inside of another reality and snatch the resources there. Okay? This is a fool. But he's just so proud of his damn self because they have all these interlocking agencies being funded billions in dollars to get artificial life on the book. Now, what you're looking at essentially is the way that everything operates. The flower of life, again, these are nothing more than templates. All right? These are two-dimensional abstracts. We are on a plane of existence, interlocking vortices. And each vortice can be breached because it has a dimensional bridge or door that essentially is between. Wherever you see them meet up there, those little points of contact are points where you can create the bridge to another reality. And that's what our ancestors were talking about when they spoke about the flower of life. Everything is interconnected. Every vortice is interconnected. So when you look at the interconnecting points in the reality, what are you seeing? Okay, so you're looking at the Sephiroth. You're looking at what the Sephiroth was really representative. And if you look at the writings of something called the Sefer Yetzirah, in the Sefer Yetzirah or the Book of Formations, you'll understand and understand what that book is trying to tell you about what the Kabbalistic tree of life is really telling you. The Sefer are the instruments or building blocks of creation. The Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, speaks of 32 wondrous paths of wisdom through which God engraved and created the world. These paths consist of 10 primordial numbers and 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The 10 primordial numbers are called Sephirot. The Sephirot, the Sefer Yetzirah deals with numbers as metaphysical principles or stages in God's creation. The Sephirot or Sephiroth are actually living numerical beings, while numbers are conscious principles articulating the hidden depth and dimensions to all things. So understand that numbers essentially are part of, I call numbers the children of time. because each one represents a pulse. And each pulse represents a specific part of the puzzle that is joined together to make manifestations happen. So you understand that the 22, when you talk about the 22 letters, those 22 letters represent the 22 strands of your DNA. There's no 2 strands. There's no 12 strands. You had 22 strands, which is all represented within the 22 letters. Knitted together, you had a third stalk. Not 2, but 3. Because it's all in 3s here in the third dimension. That was stripped from you. That was stripped. So the 22 strands are what really put you into your God self. You have parts of you in your body that are now in stasis because of the way that your DNA was re-engineered. There are parts to you that talk about your what do you call tonsils. They talk about your appendix. You don't need it. Just rip it out. No. These are atrophied parts of your reality. Your intestines were actually your frontal vertebrae. You had a vertebrae in the back. It knitted together here and came to the front when you were an asexual creature. Now, that doesn't mean you were gay and that's bull. I'm talking about the fact that you did not take on the split as yet. You were in a whole other density. And remember, you can't exist in certain densities unless you take on the properties that those densities balance you in. So third density balances you in male and female. You can't take male and female separately into the dimension of the one. You can't exist there as that. Just like they can't exist here and they feel out of place. Why is the suicide rate 67% amongst transsexuals? Because they don't belong. And whoever it is, these doctors that's telling them, okay, let's go get cut. These people need help. They don't need to be cut. These people are psychologically ill. These people are patients. You don't tell a psychotically ill person you're going to help him to maintain and extend his psychosis unless you have an agenda. One more time. Understand and understand that we are within that multidimensional framework. We are consolidating ourselves within certain brackets that create all the icosahedron, the dodecahedron, all of these, the squares, the cubes. We are presently within the cube consciousness of reality. If you open the cube, it becomes a what? Indeed, it becomes a cross. And that's where you're trapped right now, on third density. That's what the man hanging on the cross means. The spirit, the essence of you, dies on the third dimension. As soon as you take a body. So there you are, trapped in the cube of space. And you can't see beyond it. But guess what? Because there is an imperative within you to advance. No matter what. Your body is constantly looking for a way out. You are a creature of the Creator, God. Which means you can't be kept in stasis for long. You will find a way around it, or something or someone will trigger a memory that cannot be taken from you. That's why it's necessary for your mind to become ever more conscious. Now, why are we even bothering with this person? Well, here's where your Mandela defect check comes in. Now we're talking about the aurora non-realis. Let's get in to find out what this dude was about. Remember him? Yeah. The first video of the killer, James Holmes. James Holmes, the murderer, the killer, the insane person. Remember him? But did you know that this young man spoke at a science camp at the age of 18 or 16? Most people don't know that. And here's where I was supposed to actually give you a kind of thing about what he was saying. And that's a shame because I wanted you to hear him speak. Let me see if I can get him to come on. No? What What a shame. And this is a very important part of what you need to know about what he's saying. Okay, but I'm going to go along. Now, with this boy that you saw, this is how they now portrayed him. That young boy, now you know that ain't even him. Okay? So, let's talk about it. In the video above, we see this 18-year-old Holmes summarizing the research he did at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla, California, while attending an 8-week summer science camp. Listen carefully. Holmes was tabbed as an extremely brilliant young man, perhaps even a genius, and with the help of his handler, John Jacobson, wished to pursue a career in neuroscience, a field directly related to mind control. Holmes focused on the study of the reversal of temporal order judgment. This 18-year-old boy, this genius, was actually dealing with instrumentations to mess with your temporal judgment or your perception of time. Letters of recommendation from the University of California, Riverside to the University of Illinois at Urbana, okay, stated that Holmes graduated in the top 1% of his class. 3.9.9 GPA. The UCR letters also describe Holmes as a very effective group leader and a person who takes an active role in his education and brings a great amount of intellectual and emotional maturity to the classroom. James received outstanding evaluations from the professors and graduate students with whom he worked and was mentored. In June of 2011, Holmes enrolled as a PhD student at 18, 19, 20 in neuroscience at the University of Colorado. Now listen carefully. He received a $21,600 grant from the National Institutes of Health. He also received a $5,000 stipend from the University of Colorado. The letter accepting Holmes in the program read, "Your personal and professional qualities are truly outstanding, and you'll be an excellent match for our program." And all of a sudden, he just goes berserk and starts shooting. Wait. At least 2 researchers were vying for Holmes to join their laboratories, and the school offered him a stipend of $22,600 a year and free tuition. And he received a letter of acceptance from UC, where he was offered a $22,600 stipend and free tuition. He declined their offer without specifying a reason. Now, out of all the people in the world, what were the odds that this formerly described genius-level mass murderer sentenced to life plus 3,318 years was coincidentally linked to these 2 men, Stuart Brand and David Eagleman? Is it coincidence that Stuart Brand was a key agent of MK Ultra? Is it coincidence that Eagleman was a neuroscientist and writer at Baylor College of Medicine, a Guggenheim Fellow, a council member in the World Economic Forum? Coincidence that Eagleman was particularly interested in people's subjective interpretation of reality? Coincidence that he was searching for methods to prove that virtual reality, subjective reality, and reality are all the same? Now, there was a man on YouTube. He called himself Catty, Mr. Catty. He made a very good scenario or announcement around this situation. Look very carefully. As Holmes alluded to in his presentation at Salk, experimental findings suggested that people's perception of time can be manipulated by repeated exposure to non-stimulus stimuli. Eagleman conducted such an experiment where a temporal order judgment reversal was induced in subjects by exposing them to delay motor sequences or consequences. Eagleman wrote that his long-range goal was to understand how neural signals processed by different brain regions came together to temporarily unify for a temporarily unified picture of the world. So this guy was about messing with your mind to see how you factored in reality. Knowing full well the true intellectual credentials of this young man, these 2 men called on their disinformation trolls in the media and their spook agencies after the incidents at the theater to purposely undermine and completely destroy his reputation. Why? There is no doubt he was set up. As witnesses said, they saw a man fitting his description being abducted from his apartment, unconscious, by 3 men and placed in a van before the attack at the theater. Then found, again, unconscious, in a car not far from the murder scene, dressed in full tactical gear. Okay? Even his mentor, John Jacobson, the one that he revered and was working with him, his handler actually, told the Los Angeles Times that the teenager was mediocre at best, a stubborn, self-absorbed young man who refused to listen to directions. Jacobson also told the Times that he should not have gotten that summer program. I've heard him described as brilliant. This is extremely inaccurate. He even goes so far as to even call him damn near an idiot. All right? Now, but let's review what this idiot had to say in his brief dissertation. He told us at the outset that he worked with Jacobson at the computational neurological lab where this young boy was writing codes, mathematical models, creating mathematical models for our cells. Computer simulations and mathematical modules for hippocampal functions. Hippocampal is where your memory is coded. Your hippocampus. That's your memory processor. And neural firings. Web-based publications where the knowledge gained is made available to the scientific community and the public. He said quite clearly that Jacobson, not Eagleman, was interested in how we perceive reality, specifically, what was that word I told you to look for? Grapheme perception. Grapheme is one of the set of symbols that serve to distinguish one word from another and usually correspond to or represent phonemes, i.e. the F in fun, the PH in phantom, and the GH in laugh. So each one has that f sound. He went on to say that Jacobson wanted to know how graphemes are mediated in spatial frequency channels. He also studied subjective experience, which is what takes place inside the mind, as opposed to the external world. He said, I carried on his work in dealing with subjective experience. He said, I've done it through Flash programming. Flash is set up to make movies. There is a timeline. Within the timeline, there are layers, and layers give the movie order and structure. And within the layers, there are frames and text, images and codes that can be placed in the frames to make the movie do things. So he says, my main task was to write code, and I was writing code to show how our perception of causality can be tricked. A major way that humans learn is through action and effective relationships. And to stimulate this on a computer or simulate it on a computer, we have a key press as an action. And the effect is an appearance of an image. Thus, actions and effects have logical progressions through time. That is, effects proceed or appear simultaneous to the actions that cause them, unless we have a temporal order judgment reversal, which I just call the illusion. This is what this boy was saying. This is what this boy was studying and working on, and he just goes ballistic in a theater at Batman. He then goes on to show a clock, okay, that was numerically reversed. All right, temporal order, gradual delay, effect before action. Okay, now he reversed to the back. He goes on to say, in the illusion, the effect seems to precede the action that it causes. So subjectively, you are causing events to happen in the past. And to implement this illusion, we insert a series of gradual delays in between the actions and effects. So we have a key press, then a 10 millisecond delay, and then an image appearing. Then a key press with a 20 millisecond delay, and an image appears. And we keep doing this over and over and over again, increasing to about 200 milliseconds. And we do this gradually delay. We do this gradual delay incrementation to adapt the person to modify their perception of time. Now, think about this. We're not just talking about modulating time and somebody just, having confabulation. We are talking about someone learning how to trick your sense. Learning what to do to trick your perception of time. So, everybody's suffering this Mandela effect. He says, then after we modify their perception of time, we completely remove the delay, and this causes the illusion. The potential applications for this illusion are in reducing car accidents. Of course, the young man is thinking about all beneficial. These bastards are thinking about how they're going to use it as a weapon. And again, they're using your genius against you. Okay? So let's go here. I want to show you this. At the time, this man, right here, was a Aurora shooting right in between 2011 and 2013. At 2012, that's when you had the Aurora shooting, right? At this point, there, the D-Wave was now, the D-Wave computer was first gotten by what? Lockheed Martin, and where? Google. These are the ones who purchased the D-Wave computer. Look at again, August 15th, when they sentenced him to 3,300 years. Look again, who bought the systems. Los Alamos, which deals with UFO, Google, NASA, URSA, Lockheed Martin. And in 2017, something called what? Temporal Defense System. What did I tell you what temporal means? Time defense? Time defense? What new enemy are we facing? Who are we facing at this point? Think about it now, okay? Now a dude named Jeremy comes on the scene. We introduce you to Holmes. Now this guy calls the father of effects. In 2016, August, a scientist calling himself Jeremy came forth and admitted to being one of 23 scientists from a group called the Collective that was changing human history. Said he suffered from exposure to the experiment. I don't know, remember, this might be just a crap of bullshit. But then we take everything into consideration. You never say, to hell with that, because it can come back and bite you. It could be the piece to the puzzle. We don't know what this is, but I'm going to tell you what it is so you can check and do your own due diligence. Okay, the Collective that was changing human history said he suffered from exposure to the experiment or the equipment used to alter time, and that he would be dead before his next birthday. That's very convenient. We can't ask him questions. He said that part of the Mandela effect would be the appearance of new animal species on Earth. I said this back in 1990 and nobody paid attention. Okay, well, let's hear what the white man has to say. Of course, he knows what he's talking about, and we little poor pickaninnies, we don't know what the hell. According to Jeremy, the so-called Mandela effect happened after Earth suffered an extinction-level event back in 2012. He did not reveal the nature of the worldwide catastrophe. Turns out that the Collective is a gathering of physicists, and you know who I use, right? From the movie? Dark City. I think it was appropriate. A quantum wave type computer gave them access to the manipulation of space-time in order to redirect an alternate timeline for human destiny. Unfortunately, the original timeline of our past left residual frequencies that were reverberating into our own, even after the extinction level event itself was diverted. To protect our species, Jeremy stated that the scientists redesigned the infrastructures of the human body. What? For example, he said they increased the size of the liver to better process environmental toxins. They increased the size of the heart by modifying its position. Where it used to be on the left, now it's more into the center. Go back and check. Where the heart was once located left, in the center, it's now located towards the center of the chest. They had also rewritten the entire skeletal structure, the rib cage, the skull, and the brain. Really? The human brain had to be rearranged as well. We increased the size of the base brain. Now, here's where the bullshit factor comes in. Because this say reduce the distance of the corpus and shorten the area of the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is your spiritual lobe brain. It's the frontal lobe that gives you your spiritual access. When he talked about increasing the size of your base brain, he's increasing your reptilian brain. Why would he increase the brain that deals from survival, fight or flight, to lock you into that animal nature? So what are they saying to us? I mean, if you don't know what you're looking at and listening to, and they're telling you they're shrinking the frontal lobes, where your spirituality takes place. So you have this thing where there's a little piece of your brain called the amygdala. And when you're dealing with high spirituality, it shifts or clicks forward and you're in your frontal lobes. When you're dealing in fight or flight, it clicks back to that particular part where you get stronger, you run faster, you fight better. But what they've been doing is clicking that amygdala and then causing you to eat foods that shrink the frontal lobes. that get rid of your testosterone as men, because we need that frontal lobe energy to problem solve. So most of the time, we don't understand and understand that things like these, you got to look at these and say, wait a minute, how could you increase the base brain and reduce the frontal lobe? Why are you telling me that as a form of survival? Whose survival? Your survival, whoever it is that's actually doing this mischief. And obviously, server crash. This is what he's talking about, the anomalies. He said the quantum computer used is designed around our own neural network. Using human engrams, neural systems taken from people. Jeremy stated that if you study the design of Russian dolls, you get a pretty good idea of the nature of our reality. We are manipulated, but we are also being manipulated. We are manipulating, but we are also manipulated from the outside. In this unstable resonance of space-time, intuition is the closest thing to the truth we can utilize. Trust your instincts, he says, that many of the Mandela effects posted online are layers to hide the real changes. It's very involved. He also states that there is no timeline event. It was an experiment gone haywire. They wanted to see if they could graft part of a timeline onto our own. It was an experiment to try to graft another timeline into ours that was similar but had subtle differences, the timeline. Most were so subtle, or are so subtle, that only a small number of people notice. But everyone will be awakened soon. The core of our humanity is still their consciousness, or what we have as our humanity is our consciousness. Present human consciousness was transferred to a D-Wave motherboard server to avoid that extinction level event, with updates to body designs as well as the environment. These alterations of our body's archetypal designs are causing distortions of our personal and collective archetypal memories. Now, is this all science fiction? Because inside of every science fiction that they put out there is a kernel of science truth. And so I'm not saying that this is it. Don't say, well, look at what Dr. Valentine said. Y'all really start saying that I said that Malcolm was this and Malcolm was that. I didn't say that. I said, here's what they're saying. You pay attention. Now, we find out that the dude named Jeremy is Jeremy Bernstein. Ooh. Here we go. They're all over. Operation Mindfuck. It keeps coming out the Vatican. It keeps coming out of Israel. Right? Rochester, New York, Harvard, all the way, works on particle physics and what? Cosmology, which means the dome. Bernstein has held adjunct and visiting positions at the Brookhaven National Laboratory, another place where they DARPA, CERN, Oxford, and University of Islamabad. He also involved in Project Orion, investigating the potential for nuclear pulsation to be used in space travel. That's another dream. Okay, now here we go. D-wave quantum computers, dimensional wave, distortions of consciousness, manipulating the cerebral wave particle calibration of third density perception. Now, know that you are the one that creates matter. Your mind is what converts waves into particle matter. They know that your mind is the creative instrument. My son, Amen Ra. And his wife, Risha, and my grandson, Kai. Oh, he's going to terrorize this place in a minute. Manipulating the cerebral wave particle calibration. When you look, science found out that when human perception perceives or looks at a waveform, it converts it automatically. Your perception changes it. Therefore, perception is necessary, which means you're one with the wave. You and the wave are one. Therefore, if the wave and you are one, you have the ability to mold matter into anything. You have lost that ability because your concentration is off. There are parts of your brain that's been dysfunctioned purposefully. Quantum computation is a distinctly new way of harnessing nature. It will be the first technology that allows useful tasks to be performed in collaboration between what? Parallel universes. Look at this sick, what do you call it? These are the people that are the scientists that are, exploring the boundaries of reality. The CIA describes the QCOM as tapping into the fundamental fabric of reality. This man who owns the company says being near one is like standing at the altar of an alien god. Listen to the people who are actually dealing with technologies that are going to mess with your perception of space-time. The human mind is the battleground. Now, I was supposed to, again, I wish you could see what this man was talking about. This is the man, the one I just showed you, who said that he would definitely use this quantum computing capability to reach into other dimensions and snatch the resources that are there. This son of a bitch is not even talking about interfacing with other realities and finding out how we could actually share in our common experience. He just wants to snatch stuff. So you can't ever change the nature of the beast.
That's right.
Whoever this creature is did not belong in this space-time. We are prisoners. We are trapped. And he has been made the warden. Okay? D-Wave, the Kaaba of the West. You see that's the computer there? Looks exactly like that. The pulse wave, listen to what he says. The pulse wave emits a sound once per second, which eerily sounds like a heartbeat. If you have the chance to stand near one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring experience. At least it is for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. Just maintain that particular perception. Now, if you remember correctly, how many people saw 2001, A Space Odyssey? In the very beginning of the movie, one of my favorite movies, by the way, because you got to smoke a little cheeb and look at it. This is a computer that somehow was ensconced with intelligence, an intelligence that used to be like us, that people disembodied their intelligence and put it into a computer, and that computer would then be the regulator for a life principle in another vortex. So this is what they were dealing with. As you see in the beginning of the movie, Stanley Kubrick Productions, they just kept giving you little pieces of it, showing you how this computer was created, and then all of a sudden became this slow slab. Remember, how many people saw the very first one? Well, that was the computer. According to Arthur, the one who wrote the book, said the firstborn discovered how to transfer their consciousness into computers, and thus they became thinking machines. In the end, they surpassed even this achievement and were able to transfer entirely from physical to non-corporeal forms, becoming lords of the galaxy, omniscient, immortal, and capable of traveling at great speeds. The firstborn had abandoned physical form, but their creations, the monoliths, remained, and these continue to carry on their original assignments. Now, is this some kind of imprint placed in these fools who are creating these QCOMs, who are trying to transfer human consciousness into machines? Now, I'm saying this very, very succinctly, no racism intended. They are now creating malleable, thin carbon that can be encroached or input upon machines. And that carbon has a life form. It's all melanin, artificial melanin. You have to understand that the European man, I'm talking about the blue-eyed, green-eyed, red-headed, recessive. And I ain't talking about no racism. I'm talking about what he said he is. I'm telling you what he said he is. He's recessive. We are dominant. The reason why he is creating a technological exoskeleton and interfacing himself with technologies is because the original technologies bequeathed us that connected carbon with silicon and other types of materials that gave us the godlike presence in physical form was denied him when he was created.
That's right.
And his automatic nature is to be able to interface with that personal relationship we have with Source. We can interface directly with Source. We have the ability to interface with that which is the unknowable and bring it into the unknown and then act it out in the known. He now look at all of his Hollywood. Remember I talked about predictive programming. All of his Hollywood is about interfacing with machines. All of his Hollywood is about amplifying his consciousness by interfacing with himself, a machine. The machine now is doing superhuman things. Now, if you have a 44-inch leap, like Michael Jordan and the rest of these people, slow down in slow motion, what do you look like you're doing? Flying. You look like you're flying. Essentially, you had the ability to do those things. You could traverse against the electromagnetic field, because there damn sure ain't no such thing as gravity. The electromagnetism of your own brain can displace the electromagnetism of the earth if your silicon matrix was intact. It's not. So carbon, even though it is a residual of what is part of the matter construct of organic life, it's still missing many of the components, one of them being silicon intelligence, and what that does to stabilize the physical body and to make it malleable. Let me go ahead. I know. Okay, being near one is like standing at the altar of an alien god. This was in the movie. So I just figured I would just put... Clue? This is where they want to be going. I'm going to play this, give you a chance to read it. These are a race of people who were essentially nothing more than those people that were expressed as mechanical. They had consciousness, but not that connection to source. And they absorb realities, human realities, different species, in order to know how to come closer to source. They can't. So what they do is they rip off your consciousness. They get into your DNA, through your mitochondria. They take that over and get a vicarious experience of what it's like to interface with the direct source. They can't. According to the leader of the courtier, Mahuhan Nahi, he's talking about the animists desire our own species' hologramic consciousness matrix for the purpose of owning our species' mitochondrial experiential genetic library. Synthetic organisms are not able to carry the higher frequencies of first-order conscious light beings, which absolutely requires a source-originated molecular atomic bioorganic carbon-silicon interlaced self-conscious operating system, i.e. man. So anybody who's talking about dealing with getting out of their human state and saying that your evolutionary process stopped, so the machines now and interfacing with technologies is somehow the way past that, know that they are from this legacy. I'll give you more of it now. Plans of the animists endure through systems manipulation, now handed down by all echoing twisted mindsets of their gods, the god of progress and the gods of technology. They wish to modify the essential makeup of their second-order natures with genetic engineering to modify their synthetic-based anatomies to enable them to house a spiritualized consciousness. They want unfettered access to our DNA in order to conduct trans-evolutionary experiments. And this is where transhumanism comes in. You have to watch out. Who are these people that is pushing for transhumanism? Who are these people that's trying to get us out of our human state and say that the next state is to become dependent upon machines that we create? Well, if they are creating machines to take the place of what we could do naturally, it means that who controls the machine controls us. They know that your consciousness can completely obfuscate or get out of their energies, and you can get past all of that very easily. And I'm going to just keep going here. You can read this. It's part of it. It's going to be on tape. Let me just go ahead and to show you that they've already started. Here's a person with an artificial eye connected directly to his brain, so he's seeing signals. And there are people now with dealing with the cyborg energy. They are dealing from and now becoming more sophisticated. This is old stuff. You can imagine what they have now. Okay, under transhumanism, we will be allowed to follow the premise set forth by Aldous Huxley in Brave New World, where citizens of the world state constitute a Eurosocial consumer society where humans are produced in hatcheries. They already started hatching children, did they not? Okay, to produce 5 classes or castes named after Greek alphabet, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and epsilon respectively. Okay, this is them. I'm just giving you these parts. In the Brave New World, alcohol, in order for you to create a delta, and the deltas, of course, they wear black. And these deltas, essentially, what they do is they get into the mother and they infuse in the fluid the baby's in. They put alcohol in there. And here they have now, this just came out, an article by Kevin Laura stated on February 14th, the National Academy of Sciences and National Academy of Medicine issued a report that outlines the circumstances under which research into editing human embryos have been permitted. They now can edit the embryonic development of your children. Edit genetics. Oh, they say they're doing it to heal and to stop a no. They're experimenting on how to create a slave class. Look, they even got the new artificial melanin, which is called graphene. According to the CEO of this company, graphene is a thin layer of pure carbon, a single tightly packed layer of carbon atoms that are bonded together in a hexagonal honeycomb lattice. Anything that you see that has 6 sides, even though it's made out of, created by man, but has 6 sides. Check that movie by Steven Spielberg called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And take a look at that mountain that they were supposed to come to. That's a tree. Anyway, moving right along. Carbon is the 2nd most abundant mass within the human body and the 4th most abundant mass in the universe by mass after hydrogen, helium, and oxygen. This makes carbon the chemical basis for all known life on Earth. So therefore, graphene could well be an ecologically friendly, sustainable solution for an almost unlimited number of applications. Since the discovery, more accurately the mechanical obtainment of graphene, advancements within certain or different scientific fields have exploded. There's your graphene. There's the original people of this particular plane of existence. Understand that. Okay, here's where we're going to close out now. Wellness. Wellness. Yeah, wellness. Wellness. Right? Am I agreed? Can the church say amen? Amen. Amen. Wellness. 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 That's my son, Kai, and his fiancée. We married. Wellness. Wellness, everyone. My son, with his own. My daughter. And there they are. Wellness. Family. Wellness, everyone. Wellness. Right? Wellness. Isn't that how wellness looks? Isn't that wellness, everybody? Doesn't wellness look like this? Wellness is supposed to look like this. Check. Wellness. Wellness. Mama. Wellness. Wellness. Even back in a wedding party in Seoul, look at how dark the people of Seoul were. They don't show you these pictures, do they? Somehow we have been invaded. And they took over everything. They destroyed us. It was a great war. And everything you see that is desert, there was never any desert on our plane of existence. There were no such things as deserts. This is after the battle. There were no such things as these mountainous craters that you see and crazy valleys and we have been mined. They have been strip mined. The entire plane of existence we is on was strip mined. You called them Mount Everest and all this, but it was strip mining. Wellness. And of course, they had to find a cure for it. QCOM, CERN, and there is a movie out now called A Cure for Wellness. Oh yeah, a cure for wellness, everyone. So wellness is a disease. Wellness to them, and you acting upon the wellness of your character, your innate nature, your instincts, is a disease state. Of course it is. Of course, and here's Wonder Woman. She's the one who created to inspire women to realize their full potential. She also prepared young boys reading the comics for the coming matriarchy, which her creator, William Marston, devotedly believes would come after the war. Unfortunately, it did. We are in a matriarchal society. Don't believe the bullshit hype that this is a patriarchy. Everything is matriarchal. And women know this. They have this little secret that they share amongst one another. We guys, we just walk up, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. But the women, they know. And so do I. If you want to study the greatest puzzle on the planet, guys, she's sitting next to you. Wonder Woman, what the hell is he doing here? Why would he be here? Oh, I see. I see. Y'all don't know you're looking at somebody pushing Scientology right under your face. Yes, we know. And Wonder Woman is promoting it with her diadem. Ah, the cure for wellness. The best thing about being a girl is now I don't have to pretend to be a boy. That's a boy. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The gender revolution. Yes. Ho, 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 the cure for wellness. The Mandela effect defect check. Changelings. Changelings are about us. They have come. They have now come. Caution, mixed gender laboratory. We are in a madhouse at this particular time. Now, all you all who have people who are gender non-specific, there are about 150 gender orientations and about another 100 sexual orientations. And we don't know what the hell we are, but we are expressing whatever that is. We don't know what we are yet. Listen, you can hate me all you want about people who are confused, and because they are creating the dynamics within where you live to disrupt. Because if I have the plumbing of a male and I'm thinking of a female, how is that something that's not natural, first of all? Because you could normalize anything. Well, it's a human being. Your sexual orientation shouldn't be a question. Yeah, okay, let's all become transgender. Let's all become homosexuals. Right? Then what? Of course. So you want to teach my child, my grandchild, and my great-grandchildren that if you feel as a man you're a woman, change. Go with that crazy feeling, because remember, we're disrupting you in the womb. See, most homosexuals and people who support them don't realize that homosexuality is a congenital disorder. And because they've accepted it now, the disorder has now become normalized. As a congenital disorder, say, well, I was born this way. Of course you were born this way, because I can now disrupt and interfere with the process of your becoming. I could stick poisons into your mother. I could stick poisons into your food. I can disrupt your food so that what looks like a watermelon without seeds, you'll believe is a watermelon. But if I can't identify the seeds in there, then what the hell is it really? Because the seed is the thing. So if the seed isn't there, what are you selling me? What are you giving me to eat that is causing my testicles to shrivel up? What are you giving me to eat that is causing me as a woman to say, well, the hell with it, I feel like I want to be a man? That is the most twisted and crazy thing you could be. And for you to try to convince me that your disordered thinking is somehow something I should accept, I will accept you as a human being. I will accept you as a living, breathing organism of life and respect that. But I'll be damned if you're going to want me to accept how crazy it sounds for me to say that you are normal or natural in your orientation of life. And look at what they're doing to this boy. And you know, I hold you sisters accountable to this. I know you don't know what it's like to raise a male. And that there's an abandonment issue and crazy and all kinds of stuff going on that's making us a dysfunctional family unit. Feminism made sure it destroyed the family unit first. And if you don't understand that, you'll never understand our condition at this point. Period. And when I was speaking on this, if you remember correctly, does anybody remember me speaking about this in the early 90s, that we were heading to this position, and that feminism, of course, all the sisters that were in the feminist march at this time, they did not like that, and they were always go, brother, you don't know, you just don't know. No, I don't know, but I do know what I know. And I know that you are crazy. And I am not exceeding or seceding my place as a man to you. Because I am not equal to you. Two equal things can't occupy the same space at the same time. So therefore, if you're equal to me, that means you're separate from me. If you're compatible with me, then we occupy the same space. It's science. It's logic. But logic, be damned when it comes to the feminist mystique. So I say to you sisters, find, and you brothers, I hold you accountable. Find out what's going on with your young men. And if you can't do it, seek out the help of men who are out there trying to help our young men to understand who they are. Because if I start seeing any more boys putting on high heels or putting on any goddamn makeup and starting to switching and twirling, and man, when I walked into New York City today, man, I came off the plane and everything was swishing past me. I said, holy crap. I said, I left one way and it just came back and went completely bonk. It was like, I forgot what it was like to be here. And of course, everybody was normal with it, you know. Oh, really? The guy was made up. Lashes out to here. You can actually feel the breeze when he blinked. Wow. And what's this? What the hell is that? Wow. And your boy gay is the new black. Check this out. Cover girl had a boy on it. The new cover girl is a man. See you in the dark, bro.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, brother?
I'm great.
Yes, you are. The new cover girl is a cover boy. Or cover something. The new cover for Men's Fitness is a woman. What distinguishes a woman? Where's the there it is. Okay, thank you. You see that? Why is this so important? Because less ribs, so that babies can be born. A woman has less ribs. You have less ribs. Your hips start higher for a reason. So you can have babies.
I never knew that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? We have an extra set of ribs. We don't have babies. They're trying to put one in us. But if you look right here, you can tell that this is a woman. And here's your man. I remember I told you it's a Mandela effect defect check. Here's your defects. And they're coming out and being. Now, why would you put somebody like this on a men's fitness? Unless you got an agenda. All right? Shim on the cover of FTM. A cure for wellness. These are men. Shook it now. All the brothers were saying, damn, they're fine. Woo-wee. Sisters, you got competition now. Woo. What can I tell you? I know. What can I tell you? See, y'all might be, see, guys, you better watch up who you pulling on up. When y'all pushing up on somebody, might have the same package as you. Or had it. Think on it. Changelings. Here's the new woman up in the left. I'm telling you, it's happening right under your noses very quietly until such time as you're going to see them on parade. And the best time to see how dysfunctional we have become is to see when they organize a gay pride parade. Hundreds, thousands, maybe millions come out. What are we looking at? We're looking at a planned extinction event. And they call it the boiling frog. Very quietly turning up the heat while the frog is sitting in the water, doesn't even know it's boiling to death. That man right here married this woman. And you didn't think that women could grow beards, huh? Yeah. Just like men could grow boobs. Men. Now, this one I found hardest to believe. Holy crap. Wow, sisters. Right? Come on. Some of y'all dying for that figure. This is one of the first. This guy was definitely a mind blower. The new man. Okay, let's take a look. The guy on the right Okay. Somebody in there looked familiar. Oh boy. Boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, let's look at what I call hit indent points. Ooh. Somebody had a movie called The Mask. What do you wear a mask for? To hide things. And a movie called There's Something About Mary. Oh, I can't believe it. It didn't happen. No, you must be jiving. Hey, I'm entertaining you. It's all BS, right? All righty. Mask, disguise, give the impression someone or oneself a different appearance in order to conceal one's identity. In Google, I got this definition, i.e., he disguised himself as a girl. Alrighty, let's take a look one more time. A cure for wellness, changelings. Let's look one more time and take a look and see how females are functioned and structured. Of course, not all of them are, but for God's sakes, here's another changeling. You remember this one? I spoke about this a long time ago. Of course, we saw in James Bond. Now, if you look at that head and that face. Now, I may be wrong. I'm just going on what it is that I assume is going on. But when you got somebody looking like this, and then, of course, they put her into this. Playboy. Who? Would you sleep with this woman? Setting you up. Of course you would sleep with that woman. Oh my goodness. I could just imagine now. At first sight, if you didn't know what was going on, guys, that's right. But here is what he looked like when he was born. And here's what he looked like when he grew up. He had something called Klinefelter syndrome. Here's what his name is. That's Barry, and there's Caroline. Yeah, goddamn, right, brothers? Yeah, I see you looking. Don't hide it. And of course, if you didn't believe me, there he is as a Bond girl. And of course, he is a raging, flaming homosexual, by the way. So that was nothing for him. And of course, we're dealing with another cure for wellness with zoophilia. This lost piece of crap here actually had a YouTube that talks about the reasons why girls should have sex is with dogs. It has become so popular and so now, but remember what I said about that. She said sexual acts with animals are now legal. I said in Canada, as long as no penetration is involved. Right. Now remember when I spoke to you about something dealing with the goddess, Astarte, being the one who deals with love between humans and animals? Well, cure for wellness. Here's where sex with animals is actually legal in all these countries. There's no law against bestiality in Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, Ohio, Texas, Vermont, West Virginia. We are being coerced into becoming like them. They are giving us their true nature. We're coming to the end. Now, this guy, Milo Yiannopoulos. What about him? This is an exceptional tactic by the homosexual agenda. This man goes in on feminism. He is brilliant. He trashes feminism with the same type of joie de vivre that I do. And he is touring the campuses of the country. And his greatest admirers are heterosexual males. So heterosexual males have a homosexual male as the hero. And he, of course, is touring. And I can call him what he said he is, a faggot. He says this is the dangerous faggot tour. And of course, he's telling you exactly how to embrace all the pejoratives of your nature so that no one else can own it. Now, every time feminists come in, because he defends Trump and the rest of them, they come in, he does battle, intellectual battle with them that is superior. You could see him jousting. Very good. But then you see the boys and the men in the audience going, woo, 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 cheering him on. So, what better way to very quietly inculcate the feminist and the homosexual agenda to the next generation of people who are going to take over, coming out of the colleges, and normalize homosexuality, because we have a mole in the heterosexual community. And finally, as we're going into it, understand, in closing, may we have the lights, please? Yeah, never mind. Family, if the ability to tweak a human's perception of time so that effects precede cause are paradigm parasites working to predefine, predetermine, and reorient our self